Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're tuning into this channel across the world. Welcome to Afri's Concept TV, and thank you for tuning into this channel. The news headline: Sad news. Tinubü received shocking message. Nigeria would turn to slave if it did not stop this immediately. Once again, you're welcome to today's news. Kindly listen to the end. The news details. According to a recent report by Niger News, the Debt Management Office has issued a warning to the federal government of Nigeria concerning the nation's debt profile in 2022. The DMO has advised the government to prioritize the increase in revenue generation as a significant portion of this year's revenue. 73.5%, to be precise, will be utilized for debt servicing. In order to achieve a sustainable debt service to revenue ratio, the DMO has recommended that the government work towards increasing the projected revenue from 10.49 trillion naira to approximately 15.5 trillion naira as outlined in the 2023 budget. Additionally, the DMO has suggested that the government explore alternatives to borrowing, such as privatization or the sale of government assets. An analysis conducted by the DMO indicates that the total public debt to GDP ratio is projected to rise to 37.1% in 2021. This increase is primarily attributed to new borrowings. Federal Government of Nigeria Ways and Means at the Central Bank of Nigeria and estimated promissory note issuance. Although the current debt stock is deemed sustainable under the baseline scenario, the borrowing capacity has diminished in comparison to the self-imposed debt limit of 40%. The projected debt service to revenue ratio for 2023, standing at 73.5%, surpasses the recommended threshold of 50% due to the insufficient revenue. This highlights the urgent need for a substantial boost in government revenue. The DMO stresses the significance of adhering to existing legislation on government borrowing, such as the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007 and the Central Bank of Nigeria Act 2007, to regulate the growth rate of public debt. Furthermore, the DMO advocates for an emphasis on revenue mobilization and reforms aimed at augmenting the country's tax revenue to GDP ratio. These measures will play a crucial role in bolstering the government's fiscal position and reducing the reliance on borrowing. The DMO's analysis underscores the importance of addressing Nigerians' debt challenges by focusing on revenue generation, exploring alternative financial options, and implementing reforms to enhance tax revenue. By adopting these measures and adhering to existing legislation, the government can work towards achieving a sustainable debt profile and ensuring the long-term economic stability of the nation. The Debt Management Office has actually advised the federal government and issued warning to the federal government of Nigeria concerning the nation's debt profile in 2022. So the DMO has actually advised the government that the government, instead of borrowing debts instead of borrowing loans and adding to the debt of the nation already, that the government should actually just privatize some of the government's properties or government assets, or rather sell some of government assets instead of borrowing. That is actually going to add more to the debt profile of the nation. So they've advised the government to prioritize the increase in revenue generation too, as is a significant portion of the year's revenue. And also they said that the 10.49 trillion that has been recommended for the projected revenue should also be increased to 15.5 trillion as outlined in the 2023 budget. So the DMO actually conducted an analysis that indicates that the total public debt to GDP ratio is projected to rise 37.1% in 2023. And to avoid this, they are advising the federal government that the federal government should not borrow loan anymore. That this is going to happen, and it's going to happen if there is new borrowings. If there's new borrowings, and that the current debt stock is still sustainable under the baseline scenario, and the borrowing has actually diminished in comparison to the self-imposed debt limit of 40%. So they also emphasized on revenue mobilization initiatives and reforms that will help the tax revenue to augment GDP ratio. That these measures will also play a crucial role in helping the government to actually increase rather than increasing the debt profile of the nation. So the DMO also underscores the importance of addressing Nigerians' debt challenges by focusing on revenue generation. If Nigeria actually focus on revenue generation and explore financial options and also implement reforms to enhance tax revenue, it will actually it will help the government to work towards achieving a sustainable debt profile and also ensure the long-term economic stability of the nation. What's your view concerning this news? Kindly share your view in the comment section, and don't forget to like and share, and also click on the subscribe button to subscribe and the bell for more updates. We've come to the end of today's news. Thank you for listening to the end.